Hello, Editor Udochi here. I just want to apologize. There's like some really weird feedback background noise. I tried to get rid of it, but it didn't work. So, sorry in advance. Hello, and welcome back to the Our Favorite Bible Stories podcast. My name is Udochi, and I am your host. And today I am joined once again by a special guest.
Hi, my name is Tochi.
Tochi is my sister, and if you watched may not even be last week. If you watched episode 2 or listened to episode 2, you would have known that. If you did not know that, stop this and go watch episode 2 because go listen to episode 2 because that will give you a lot more clarity about what we talk about today. But yes, I'm very excited to have you back on the podcast. We started talking about the story of Joseph. And Joseph just went through so much that we could not do it in one episode. So this is episode 3, but it'll be part 2 of Joseph's story. Yeah. How are you feeling?
I'm okay.
Nice.
I'm alright by God's grace. Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm so tired.
No, same.
We are filming this on a Sunday at 5 p.m. Interesting choice. Probably, I'm not gonna say that. This may happen again, but hopefully it will not. Like, I should plan for it to not happen again. The face she just made was like, maybe that's not a good thing. Yeah, you're right, it's not. But yeah, so I guess we should do our normal stuff. Okay. I'm not gonna lie, I will not be surprised if this episode is much shorter than the other ones. High key, sorry, this is such a ramble. These episodes could no longer be 50 minutes. They have to stop at 45.
No. The only problem is, right, the story of Joseph is long. Is this going to be a 3-part series?
No.
Okay.
Well. We will end this episode. And it will I'm hoping for 45 the max.
Okay.
Do you not think that's going to happen?
I don't know. I really can't say.
No. Well,
can't say.
God, you've heard my prayer. May it be 45 minutes. Okay, so I think we start with Song of the Week and do Rosebud Thorn.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. You know, it doesn't matter. Song of the Week.
Yeah.
What's your Song of the Week?
Oh, I go first?
Yeah, you can go first.
This is a song that I really, really like.
Love that.
But this is not a new song to us.
Shouldn't be.
So it's by Mercy Chinua.
Oof.
And it's Now You De Rain. Now You De Rain. Should I play a little snippet?
No, you should not.
Okay,
you should not. I don't want to hear from anything.
I would sing it in such a way that we won't be copyrighted, but I don't want people to think that that's my voice. So.
But they can't know too much about me.
Yeah.
Now You De Rain. On my Spotify Wrapped, I don't know if I spoke about this before. On my Spotify Wrapped, I'm pretty sure Now You De Rain was my second most played song, because anytime you would go for a drive, that would be played at least like 2 to 3 times.
That was the song.
She really ate with that.
Yeah, she really did.
That's such a good song.
It's a great song.
I really respect that answer. I really do. And the craziest thing is that my Song of the Week also has Mercy Chinua in it. This is an oldie but a goodie that I rediscovered. Oh my gosh, anything you want. This is an oldie but a goodie. I rediscovered it. I'm actually not even sure. I think I had heard it because she said the look was like rediscovered. Did you even know it before? I think I had heard it when it initially came out. And then I rediscovered it.
Okay.
Anyway, it's called Silence. It's by Banky W and Mercy Chinua. So good.
She plays it all the time.
It has been on repeat in this house. This whole week, it has been on repeat. And it will continue to be on repeat. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna say it here. I hope it's on my Spotify Wrapped in some capacity. I don't know. I don't think it's gonna be top 5, but I would like for it to be.
Yeah.
It's quite good. I really do enjoy it. Can I do it like an honorable mention?
Yeah.
My sister and I have started going to a new church, and they performed this song called "Undignified" by Dunson. I'm not gonna try to pronounce his last name. By Dunson. So good. That has also been on repeat, along with Hallelujah No Go Finish.
She's just been in her
I've been in my Afro gospel, and I'm not gonna lie, I love it. I'm really thriving here.
It's a great genre to stumble upon.
It really is. It's so good.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy. Very, very happy. So yeah, those are our songs week. Do you have any honorable mentions? See, this is why this podcast is so long.
It is.
And it sucks. We're gonna do it anyway. Just if you know.
I mean, I I don't have like an honorable mention song, but called out music.
Forever and ever. Forever and ever. That is
song.
our main man.
Yeah.
Love called out music.
Yeah.
Why doesn't he do a song with Mercy Chinwell?
Maybe because he's in the UK.
No excuses.
Okay.
Someone call. His people need to call her people. Someone needs to get them in contact. I'm speaking this.
I'm crying.
That they need a song together.
Yeah.
So good. Love them. Anyway, Rosebud Thorn.
You go first.
Yeah, Rosebud Thorn is basically something good that's happened, something not so good that's happened, and then something you're looking forward to. Oh, I'm going first. Interesting. My rose, which I guess could also be considered a thorn, but I guess it is also a bud. That's crazy. It's all 301. God has convicted me of some stuff recently about the way, just like what I've been putting my faith in. That has been really sobering. So I guess that's the thorn. But then also it's a bud because now I know.
True.
Conviction helps you to change.
Yeah.
Well, it should help you to change. And bud, looking forward to putting my faith back in God. 3 in 1.
I'm screaming.
3 in 1. But yeah, no, he was really going in on me, and I was like, you know what? I respect that. I respect every opinion you're giving me right now. Well, it's not opinion, it's fact, isn't it? Yeah, and so, I feel like I've been feeling a lot of peace recently about that. So, yeah, that's my Rosebud Thorn. Wait, actually, do I want to give another Rosebud Thorn? We'll see after you go.
Okay, it's a new year. That's a rose.
Amen.
The Lord brought us through the whole of 2023.
Sure did.
Into this new year, so that's definitely a rose. As well as a bud, just because, like, you know, you look forward to the year,
new things to offer.
A thorn. I'm trying to change my sleep schedule. I know I talked about this before, but I'm trying to actively change it.
That's good. You need to.
So I think it's the thorn, just because like it can be difficult. Yeah, that's it.
So let's pray and then get into the story.
All right, sounds good. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, for this day. We thank you for life and for sustenance, Lord. And we ask, Father, that you please be with us during this podcast. Please speak through us, Lord. Please guide and edify our words, Lord. And please help that we will be able to minister to people through this. Thank you for everything you've done and for who you are, Lord. I pray that you also please forgive us of our sins. Please help us to live lives that glorify you. Thank you for everything you've done. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Yeah, let's jump back into the story of Joseph. I was going to say John. Of Joseph. Let's do a brief recap of the story. So Joseph was the son of Jacob, and he was the second to the youngest. There were 12 sons of Jacob. He was the 11th son, and he was the favorite son. Jacob liked Joseph more than he liked the rest of his children, which is wrong of him. We talk all about that, how he was a trash father. Well, no. I think he's a trash father.
Okay.
But we also landed on the fact that Joseph was not very wise, was a little naive, because he had some dreams. Why are you giving me that look? Did we not land on that? We didn't land on that? I thought we did. Joseph had some dreams that he would basically rule over not just his brothers, his whole family.
Yeah.
And his brothers were not happy about that. First, because he was the favorite and Jacob treated him better. And then also because he's like, in that time, there was like it's basically a society where you honored your elders above everything. Even like, was it inheritance or birthright? I think it's inheritance, right? That will go to the eldest. Or birthright is one of them. Anyway, they like the elders. And so it would be really blasphemous for not just the younger ones, but one of the youngest to be like, no, I'm gonna rule over you. And so the brothers were like, we're not gonna let this stand. So when Joseph, and then he was also given this like really, really luxurious Gucci coat by his father. And the brothers were like, this is the final straw. So one day he was going to visit them because the father told him to, and then they're like, it's our time, let's kill him. Crazy. But they instead decide not to kill him because Reuben tells them not to, and they dump him in a well. Then they see some people come in and they're like, let's sell our brother. So they sell the brother. He's now at at this point in the story, he was sold to this guy named Potiphar, who was the captain of the guard, I think. Captain of the guard. That's what we're gonna say for now. If I'm wrong, Editor Yudochi will come in right now. Editor Yudochi here. She's right. And because God was with him, he basically was put as head of the whole entire household. But then Potiphar's wife was like, Joseph is fine. Let me get at him. And Joseph was like, absolutely not. And Potiphar's wife tried it again and again and again. And then she did like this ultimate thing where she basically sent everybody else of the house, sent everybody out of the house, and then right,
yeah, but she basically like,
thank you for picking up. I totally forgot the story.
She basically, I think she grabs him and she's like, come lie with me. He said, no, I can't do this. And so he runs away, but like he leaves his garment. And so that was the evidence that she used to say you to her husband Potiphar, look at who you brought to be in our house. Like he, he's like almost made like a mockery of us and stuff like that. And so Potiphar sent Joseph to prison.
Sure did. And the prison of the Pharaoh. So it's where the Pharaoh's prisoners were kept.
And so, because God was with him again, he quickly rose through the ranks and became kind of like the head of the prison. And that's where he meets the chief baker and the chief butler for the Pharaoh. And so they both have dreams, and he interprets their dreams, basically saying that one of them is going to be hung in 3 days and one of them is going to be reinstated. So the butler is reinstated and the chief baker is the one who is hung.
Yes.
And so before they left, Joseph told them, or told the chief butler, I believe, please remember me. I am in prison for something I did not do. Please remember me. And I think that what we touched on was kind of this idea of like, when we learned about the story of Joseph, it was very much like Joseph was faithful and he didn't know what was going to happen when he was faithful. But I think that we also saw him being human in the sense of him saying, I'm here for something I didn't do and I don't want to be here anymore.
So get me out of
like,
here.
Please, somebody. Like, it's that, that meme where the guy's on the side of a cliff. He's like, let me tell you something. That's what it reminds me of.
Starting at chapter 41. So now Pharaoh has a dream, and in the dream there are 7 cows that are fine looking and fat. Why are you giving me that look?
No, I'm listening.
Okay. I'll just read directly from the Bible. Genesis 41, starting at verse 2. Suddenly there came up out of the river 7 cows, fine looking and fat, and they fed in the meadow. Then behold, 7 other cows came up after them out of the river, ugly and gaunt, and stood by the other cows on the bank of the river. And the ugly and gaunt cows ate up the 7 fine looking and fat cows. So Pharaoh awoke. He slept and dreamed a second time, and suddenly 7 heads of grain came up on one stalk, plump and good. Then behold, 7 thin heads blighted by the east wind sprang up after them. And the 7 thin heads devoured the 7 plump and full heads. So Pharaoh awoke, and indeed it was a dream. So after he had those dreams, he's like, what do these mean? What's going on? And so he asks his royal wise men, I guess.
Yeah, like wise men, magicians.
Yeah, he's like, tell me what this means. And none of them could. None of them knew what was happening. From the chief butler was like, wait, I know someone. It was this guy I was in custody with. He may be able to tell you what your dream means. And so then Pharaoh sends for Joseph and calls him up. They bring him out.
If I can just...
Yeah, for sure.
Why'd you pause?
I'm so out of it. Go ahead.
So in verse 14, it says, Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him quickly out of the dungeon, and he shaved, changed his clothing, and came to Pharaoh. What I think is wild is, in a split second, in the shortest amount of time, Joseph went from being a prisoner to coming before Pharaoh. Right? Like his appearance changed. Ooh. And so I think it's just a reminder of the fact that like God can change your situation something that you have tried on your own for months, for years, and it doesn't work out. God can cause it to happen in a day.
In a day.
In a day.
In 5 minutes.
He can open a door that has always been shut.
Ooh.
I mean, God, there's nothing like the orchestration of God.
Pastor. You see, because that's a really good point. Because I feel like something that, I don't know, maybe it's just the pastors I watch, something they love to say is you don't know which room your name is being mentioned. And I was always like, yeah, I get it. But, like, literally, like, Joseph had no idea that Pharaoh had a dream, had no idea the butler was like, wait, no, I remember somebody. Could you imagine, like, Joseph, like, the people tell, oh, yeah, come. Sorry. Like, come quick. I know we got a Nigerian accent out of nowhere. Okay. I was like, come. Then all of these things are happening. Like, do you think he was told, oh, Pharaoh had a dream? It's like, could you imagine, like, you're just being shuffled out? And then, because we know that Joseph did not want to stay there and that he was really struggling up in Potiphar's house and in the prison, that, like, maybe he was, like, scared to get his hopes up. When this is just, like, me imagining. It was like, oh, what is all of this? Oh, nothing's gonna come of it. Like, even when we go to it later, like, when we hear the way that he speaks about the dreams and what should be done about them, he never puts forth himself as the solution. Ooh, do you think, like, it could just be a humbleness, but maybe it's also, like, a why should this time be any different type of thing?
Oh, I have never thought
I've never thought of that either.
That's a very interesting
why wouldn't he
point.
Put himself forward?
Because here's the thing. I think it's one of those things where it's like you don't... I've heard this saying of you don't brag on yourself, you let people brag on you. And so that's what I think about, where he... And I also think it was one of those things where he was like, I'm not at liberty here to make decisions. I'm also not at liberty to... Because, like, he's talking to Pharaoh. Like, but Pharaoh was seen as, like... If we remember,
when the chief butler was getting out, he was like, please remember me and tell somebody.
Yeah, I think he meant, like, just tell somebody.
But so let me actually see the phrasing. Because, see, verse 14, but remember me when it is well with you. And, I'm sorry, this is chapter 40. Genesis chapter 40. But remember me when it is well with you, and please show kindness to me. Make mention of me to Pharaoh, and get me out of this house. So he was like, nah, tell Pharaoh. Well, Joseph, when he was still in prison, he told the chief butlers, like, tell Pharaoh about me. Tell him so that way I can leave. So now it's like he's even put himself forth as the solution, or like, now that I've told you this, let me go back. I've answered your problem. You know, I do you one, you do me one. You know, like, he didn't even do anything.
That's
like
a good point. I didn't even think. I thought he just wanted to be a free man. I didn't know that he was like, nah, you are a butler to Pharaoh. Tell Pharaoh. It also could be like, aside from the fact that this is like Pharaoh's house, it also could be the fact that, like, Pharaoh was the highest person of the land.
That's true.
Like, if he were to say, like, go talk to Potiphar and, like, tell him, like, no, I didn't do this. No. You have to go to the highest person so that way, like,
everyone else follows
suit.
Exactly.
So
yeah. That's crazy. I never thought about it. But it's also like, if we go back to chapter 41, the first verse says that it came to pass at the end of 2 full years. So it's been 2 years after the chief butler forgot him. So, like, maybe like 2 years can do a lot. There's like this phenomenon, I don't know what it's called, but it's like if a dog has been imprisoned and you let him out, the dog will stay there because it doesn't learn. Look at her, learned helplessness. That like. It's like, this is all you know. So, like, you sometimes don't even have the ability or the capacity to go further. Yeah. That's sad. Anyway, we jumped ahead a little bit. So let's go back. So Joseph is cleaned up. He's brought before the Pharaoh, and the Pharaoh basically recounts his dream, and then Joseph... go ahead.
No, you can say it. Go ahead.
Okay. Before that, Pharaoh is like, I have a dream. No one can interpret it. Are you able to do it? And then Joseph was like, it's not me. God will give Pharaoh the answer of peace. Which is crazy. That after all that Joseph's been through, everybody lying on his name, everybody's like basically being out to get him, people forgetting about him, people making promises and not keeping them, that he still is like, it's not me, but it's God.
Yeah. But I also think it shows the maturity and growth that he's had.
That's true.
Because remember when he was having dreams before, he was like, listen.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, granted, I still think it was like but I do think there was an element of like, it looks like y'all gonna be bowing down to
Like a
me,
little
you know.
cocky.
But I do think that he's come such a long way that he's like, this isn't my talent. This isn't my, you know what I'm saying? Like, this isn't just me, but it's God.
It's God.
And I think him giving God that credit, I think shows that like he's gotten to a place where his quote unquote gift can take him places, right? But he's gotten to this place that like he's like, no, it's I'm not gonna get the glory from this.
But God.
If anybody's gonna get the glory, it's gonna be God. Yeah.
That's amazing. That really is. Ooh, I love that. That really is a mature standpoint.
It is.
That really is. And even when he was interpreting the butler and the bakers, he was like, this is chapter 40, verse 8. The second part says, do not interpretations belong to God. Tell them to me, please. He really is maturing. Yeah. And he's like, what? He left when he was 17, so probably like in his mid-20s now? That's crazy. So, yeah, back to 41. Pharaoh tells Joseph the dream, and then Joseph interprets it. Basically, the 7 good cows and then the 7 plump heads, they mean the same thing, that they would be 7 years of abundance. And then the 7...
really quickly, the 7 plump heads of corn.
Of corn or grain.
Whatever it was.
Some type of plant.
Yeah, some type of, you know.
And then the 7 ugly and thin cows, and the 7... So the 7 thin ugly cows, the 7 empty heads, they basically meant 7 years of famine. And so Joseph was like, let me give you some advice, Pharaoh. Find somebody who's really smart that can do the thing. Have them save a fifth of all of the abundance. So all of the corn that comes, all of the produce, all of the fruit of those 7 years, save a fifth of it. So that way when the 7 years of famine come, there will be enough for Egypt to survive. Yeah. And so Pharaoh was like, smart. Said, I like that interpretation. And I'm trying to find the verse. 38. This is chapter 41, verse 38. It says, and Pharaoh said to his servants, can we find such a one as this, a man in whom is the Spirit of God? Yeah. Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, inasmuch as God has shown you all this, there is no one as discerning and wise as you. You shall be over my house, and all my people shall be ruled according to your word. Only in regard to the throne will I be greater than you. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, see, I have set you over all the land of Egypt. And then Pharaoh takes off his signet ring and clothes him in his garments, puts a gold chain, and basically has like a mini parade for him.
If I can just go back really quickly.
Go for it.
When I think it was Joseph that brought up the saving 1/5 from the surplus. Yeah. There's a part of me that doesn't fully understand how saving 1/5 is enough to last for 7 years. Because when a famine happens, there's nothing available. So in my mind, I'm still trying to figure out how it could be 1/5. But it also could be like, you know how in the New Testament, that boy that had the
5 loaves and the 2 fish
and the 5 loaves. It could be that
supernaturally.
It could be that.
I also think it's like, it wasn't just any 7 years. It was 7 years of abundance. So it's like if you normally made like 100 crops, now you're making like 200, 300 crops. So like keeping a fifth of that is more than
it's almost like during those 7 years of famine, they were having what they regularly have. Because they were having more than what they would regularly have. No. The 7 years of abundance, they had so much. But then taking 1/5 was almost like they were just living regularly. Yeah. I see. Ooh, yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Because in my mind, I said...
No, I agree. I was like, these numbers, explain them. I also think like this is the quintessential moment of the Joseph story. Yeah. The fact that he has gone through so much and he was elevated. And this is why people love to say the whole, oh, well, he was tending to the sheep and then he was something in Potiphar's house and then he was a leader in the prison, in the guard's place, just for this moment. So that way he would know how to like govern this place. And maybe that was true, but I think it's just a testament that God kept his word. Yeah. God said that, well, we'll see later on how he really kept his word with the dreams, but like Joseph was made to govern God did not forget Joseph and all that he was going through. Even when Joseph himself was ejected, as we said before, like it's weird that Joseph wasn't acting in his normal, like confident way. He wasn't even putting himself forth. He wasn't like, Pharaoh, now that I've told you this, let me out. Like he just said point blank period, this is what it is. But because God was with him, it still happened. Like it still happened the exact way that it was supposed to.
And I think it's also a testament to how God can truly elevate. God does his thing perfectly.
Yeah.
I think we humans, when we try to elevate ourselves or get to a certain place ourselves, we can not, well, I don't know about oftentimes, but we can sometimes invite things that were never supposed to be invited.
True.
We could do things that were never supposed to, you know what I'm saying? We can invite certain hurt and certain things, but like if we
just working in our own power.
Exactly. But if we have patience, right? Because Joseph had to have patience. Joseph could have escaped from prison. He knew that prison in and out.
Woo!
You don't think that he could have maybe found an escape somehow?
Paid off somebody a little.
Exactly. So it's this idea of like, I think Joseph was definitely patient. I think he was also fed up.
Yeah.
1,000%. Yeah. But I do think that he had a certain level of patience that allowed, or that
allowed God to work, so that way this conclusion can happen. Yeah, that's crazy. And God did. He sure did. And so
God did it.
Song stuff.
I have no idea. I think, did I just make that up? I have no.
If you did, then we're making.
I got it. It's either by Mike Brown Jr. or it's by Anthony Brown.
Man, I was hoping it wasn't Christian, so that way we can make it into a track ourselves and sell it. Oh man.
You're so crazy.
Anyway, so Joseph was 30 years old when all this was happening.
Yeah, but let's remember
he was finally elevated.
He was 17 when he came into the country. So this was not a little
off on a skip.
It
took some time. It's the same thing with David, where David was told at a young age he was going to be king, and it took like 20 years, I think.
Girl, who you telling?
Whew. Oh, wow. That's crazy. Yeah. And then, so Joseph is the person. I think it's interesting that he was given the daughter of, like, the priest of On, which was, like, a secular god.
Yeah.
To marry?
It's almost like how Zipporah and Moses got married.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe not as drastic, because I don't think that, like, her family was like that, but they weren't Israelites, But I think this also makes sense just because, like, up until this point, right, his ancestors from Abraham to Isaac to Jacob, they all married within the family. Like, they all married within the family. Like, think about Abraham.
Wow.
Abraham, like, married his half-sister.
Right.
Isaac married his cousin.
Yeah.
His cousin. Isaac married his cousin. And then Jacob proceeded to marry, I'm pretty sure, his cousin as well.
His second?
No, his cousin, because Laban and Rebecca were brother and sister.
It was his cousin.
So he married two of his cousins. So at this point, this was with Jacob's sons. They were starting to not do that, and they were starting to marry other people.
Yeah.
So
I guess it's fitting. Yeah, so weird. But then he has 2 children. 7 years of abundance happens. Actually, the children's names are quite significant. Verse 41. You all right?
Yes, sorry.
Okay. Verse 41. Oh no, chapter 41, verse 51. It says, Joseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh, for God has made me forget all my toil and all my father's house. And the name of the second he called Ephraim, for God has caused me to be fruitful in the land of my affliction. That is so meaningful, that in the place that once caused you pain, what's that verse? I think it's a psalm. It's like, those who sow in tears will reap in joy. Literally the manifestation of that in the place that caused me so much pain, fruitfulness is happening. Yeah. So 7 years of plenty happens. 7 years, a famine happens, and then because the famine is so bad, and I think it's happening not just in Egypt but in surrounding areas. People are coming from other countries to Egypt to buy grain, and Egypt is selling that grain and making quite a profit. So back to Joseph's brothers.
Yeah.
So Jacob saw that there was grain in Egypt. He told his sons, go to Egypt and get us some food. But he did not send Benjamin. Benjamin was the last child.
Yeah.
And after what happened with Joseph, Jacob was very protective of Benjamin. He was like, he's not going anywhere. He's not leaving my sight. This is my son.
We are inferring this. It doesn't explicitly say
it is not explicitly say this, but like he was very protective of him because he did not let him go.
Mm-hmm.
Said, lest some calamity befall him. That's verse 4.
Yeah.
And so the brothers go to Egypt to buy grain. And while I guess they are there or about to get it, Joseph recognizes his brothers.
Mm-hmm. It was, and I think it was because in verse 6, now Joseph was governor over the land, and it was he who sold to all the people of the land.
It's true.
So he was bound to come face to face with his brothers. Yeah.
And so, yeah, Joseph saw them, and he recognized them. And I'm not gonna lie, this whole series of events with Joseph and his brothers makes no sense to me. I don't know why he did all of that.
He had to see if they changed.
I don't really know if he did. Why is he the judge of whether they changed or not? Mm-hmm.
No. I think no. The reason why I'm pausing is because I'm trying to remember what happened.
I can tell you. I can let you know.
I know what happened. No, I think it was because I think actions speak louder than words. And I think if he were to just ask his brothers, hey, are you guys still the same people that sold me into slavery? They'd be like, what? Forget about it. Of course not. No, I think, especially because remember, right? His brothers were going to, how am I trying to put this? When he was in the pit, right? And they wanted to kill him, right? It was Judah that said, wait a minute. Kill our brother? Why would we do that when we can sell him and make a profit?
Money. Crazy.
And so I think if they saw that Joseph was now the governor, the second in command under Pharaoh, had all this money, had all this land, had all this power, wouldn't they want to align themselves with him? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, that's why in my mind it's for Joseph, I think it was more so actions speak louder than words.
I mean, I get that. Mm-hmm. So sorry for those that are like kind of confused, like what's happening. So basically, Joseph recognized his brothers, but his brothers don't recognize him. Because they don't recognize him, Joseph was like, "All right, it's time. Let's see if they've changed." Basically, so you put them. Do you want to go through this
part and then?
Yeah, we can do like just a quick recap of it.
Okay.
So he speaks roughly to them. He's like, where'd you come from? And they were like, we just came from Canaan to buy food. And Joseph was like, no, you're spies. And so because of that, they basically tell him their whole life stories. Like, there used to be 12 of us, but one of our brothers died. And we have another brother at home that our father is really protective of. And so they're like, in order for you to prove that you are who you say you are, go bring that last brother. And I'll keep one of your brothers here. But once you come back and show me your brother, then you'll all be free to go and you can get your grain. And I think the brother that says is Simeon.
I think so.
And so the brothers return to Canaan. They actually, Joseph gives them grain and gives them their money back, which the people were like, oh my gosh, what? He's going to think we stole from them. They were like quite stressed about that. But they go back. They tell Jacob, we need to bring...
Okay, yeah.
They tell Jacob we need to bring Benjamin back to Egypt so that way we can get Simeon. They basically tell him the whole entire story. And Jacob's like, not happening. Yeah, so they come home. Oh yeah, Jacob is like, it's not happening. Benjamin is not going with you guys. And so instead of them going to get Simeon, we're going to talk about this.
Really quickly. I think that's so funny.
Is it not?
Jacob was like, man, bump Simeon. You see Benjamin,
he's not going nowhere. That's actually crazy. And we have to talk about that in more detail, because this reason number 523 that Jacob is a bad father.
He's not a bad father.
Reason number 524, but Jacob's a bad father. He was not giving. How could you let... You're basically saying that Benjamin is worth more than Simeon. And I understand this idea of like, if one of my sons already been there, how do we know this guy won't come and take the other son? Yeah. I get that. But like, if Judah was left behind, or Issachar was left behind.
But we have to remember that Benjamin was still not a child per se, right? Not a child.
I don't think he was.
No, because remember,
he was born by the time Joseph left.
Joseph left at 17.
Exactly. It's been 13 years.
He's a boy.
Who's a boy? No.
All I'm saying is that Benjamin had not married and had a family of his own, and Simeon. You crazy?
That's even worse. You gonna leave Simeon's family there? Hold on. Why are they living with Joseph?
Adoshi, it's almost
wrong person, Jacob.
Adoshi, it's like, in my mind, the way I think about it is almost like when a parent has a child that's 5 and a baby, right? Your baby needs a little bit more of your attention than the 5-year-old.
How do we know that Benjamin wasn't married? How do we know that? Where did he wasn't married?
He was still in Jacob's house.
They were all in Jacob's house.
But when Joseph left, right? Joseph left at like 17, right? Mm-hmm. And you just said that Benjamin was born.
Yeah. We don't know how long he had been born.
But I do
if
think
Joseph is at a crisp age of 30, Benjamin's like, what, 20 something?
How is that possible?
What do you mean, how is that possible? I'm saying that if Joseph was 17, that Benjamin had already been born, because hadn't Rachel died by that time?
Even if Benjamin hadn't been born, he's between 13 and 17 years old.
When what?
By this time.
Why do you think that? Hold on. We don't know how many years younger Benjamin is than Joseph. So he could have been 10. And then 13, and then he's 23, or he could have been 15.
All I know is that he doesn't have his own family.
How do you know that? Where does it say he doesn't have his own family? I don't believe you.
Anyway, I think I'm just trying to say that, like, of course, him kind of leaving Simeon over there, not great, especially because, like, it's weird because there's a part of me that's like, well, Simeon was under the care of Joseph, and Joseph wasn't gonna.
But they didn't know that.
That's what I'm saying. That they didn't know who Simeon was under the care of. But it's also like Simeon. I think in their minds it's like Simeon is a grown man. He'll figure it out. But Benjamin was not as old as Simeon. Period. There was an age gap between Joseph and Benjamin. Period. That's his last born.
I'm not hearing you. I don't want to. I don't care. Reason number 526. Joseph was not a great father.
Why do you keep fluctuating the number?
Because the more we talk about this, the more I'm convinced. Anyway, Jacob's like, that's not happening. And so I think they end up finishing. Oh, no. Before their grain finishes, they have to go back. Reuben is like, I promise, like, I will bring back Benjamin if I don't kill my 2 sons. And Jacob was like, that means nothing to me. He's not leaving my sight. He's not leaving my sight. And so then it's, how much time happened? Yeah, basically they run out of food. Mm-hmm. And then Jacob's so fake. He's like, go back and buy us a little food. And Judah's like, that man told us. Said, that man told us, do not come back here unless your brother is with you. Mm-hmm. And so then Jacob is like, why'd you even tell him that you had another brother?
No, you know what? That's such a great point. I'm not gonna lie. Of course, like, making conversation is a great thing. So but funny. In my opinion, sometimes you may divulge a little too much information.
But here's the thing. If they had said, because what's his name? Joseph knew that he had a little brother. So if they had been like, oh, there's only 11 of us and one of us died, then Joseph would have known.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the problem. At that point, they didn't know it was Joseph. If I tell you I only have 11 brothers... But that's the thing. If they had lied, because it was Joseph, if they had lied, then Joseph would be like, so you people are just the same. Then even more calamity would have happened. Maybe. I don't know. Because it didn't happen. But yeah, so Judah's basically like, listen, leave Benjamin with me. If he doesn't come back,
forget my sons. It's on me. It's on my head.
And that really means something, because I'm pretty sure if it's on your head, it follows your lineage.
It follows your lineage.
Yeah, and
he
Jacob
said not just one generation, every. He said, okay, that means something.
Yeah, because it's not just you now. Because with Reuben, it's like, you got more kids. What you talking about?
I also, if we have time, we should talk about the fact that he allowed Judah and not Reuben.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Reuben slept with his concubine.
But I was like, was it then? I don't think he slept with them yet.
Well, obviously, he knew that Reuben
He knew Reuben wasn't trustworthy.
Reuben was like, yeah, you could come into.
He said, oh yeah. Anyway, where were we? Yeah, and so Jacob's like, fine. And then he was like, take some presents for the man too, just soften him up a little. He was like, take more money and you can take Benjamin, go get your other brother and Benjamin, bring them back safely and bring us some food. And so then they go on their journey. They go to Egypt and then they go before Joseph, and Joseph sees Benjamin and he's like, it's time. So he's like, everybody come in. They have like this beautiful feast. Joseph's asking them questions about their family, the father, and then about Benjamin. And so when he sees Benjamin, he had to go and leave and cry because he was so overwhelmed by the fact that his family was there, specifically his brother, who we probably hadn't seen. Benjamin was probably like quite young when he left. So quite young does not mean that he's not now in his 20s. 7 is still quite young. 8 is quite young. 10 is quite young. Anyway, so they all ate and were merry. But he gave Benjamin more food because he liked him more because that's his brother. Well, they're all his brothers, but he liked Benjamin more. This is chapter 44. And Joseph commanded the steward of his house, saying, fill the men's sack with food as much as they can carry, and put each man's money in the mouth of his sack. Also put my cup, the silver cup, in the mouth of the sack of the youngest, and his grain money. So he did according to the word that Joseph had spoken. And so the brothers were sent away with their donkeys. And then verse 4, when they had gone out of the city and were not yet far off, Joseph said to his steward, get up, follow the men, and when you overtake them, say to them, why have you repaid evil for good? Is not this the one, from which my Lord drinks, and with which he indeed practices divination? You have done evil in so doing. So they do exactly that. And the brothers were like, we would never. Said, it's not us. We would never. He said, in fact, if you find this little cup, you find one of our sacks, was it all of them would be the slaves or just one of them?
Whoever is found will die, and then the rest
of them will be
the
slaves.
If pausing really quickly, I think that this is a lesson to not speak so hastily. Oof. Because I remember, was it Jehoshaphat?
It was one of them.
Someone, it was J somebody. It was in, I think, Judges, and I think it was around the time of Gideon. Like, it was either after or something to that effect. And what's wild is he kind of made not a promise, but like an agreement with the Lord that if you allow me to release, if you allow me to conquer in this battle, the first thing that comes out of my house, I will sacrifice to you. Lo and behold, the first thing that came out of his house was his daughter. And so it's one of those things where it's we have to be mindful of what we say, because they didn't know that the cup was in Benjamin's sack. So they are now saying, let him die.
See, I also think that, like, reasonably speaking, they like trusted each other and they trusted Benjamin. They probably, before, they were like, don't do nothing, don't say nothing, don't even look him in the eyes, just that's, once again, just my imagination. But like, I think they could reasonably assume that if I didn't take it, I know you didn't take it, then I'll be like, look through our stuff then. Look through it. We ain't got it. But they did have it because Joseph was being, well, I wouldn't say he's being fake, but Joseph was doing some type of lesson. So I think it was reasonable. Yes, don't speak too hastily, but I think it was also reasonable for them to be like,
you know what I think is also wild? I think it's interesting because Joseph didn't know the agreement that the family made with the dad about Benjamin has to come back to this house, or
True.
something's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So for him to do that, it must mean that there's a part of him that felt as though the same way that the brothers treated him, they might have treated Benjamin that way, and they might see Benjamin as disposable. And so that's why he put it in their sack, because it was, if Joseph now says, okay, Benjamin, you have to come with me and be my slave forever, and you brothers can go free. Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
would he do
exactly?
it?
Would they do that? Would they be like, yeah, you could take him and we leave? You know, because that's what they did to him. So Joseph was trying to figure out,
potentially,
have you guys? Oh, potentially, right. Of course, potentially. But I think that Joseph was trying to figure out, have you guys really changed? Are you guys really, like, are you guys willing to sacrifice something for, or will you let him take the fall because he was already a nuisance to you to begin with? Yeah.
That's so interesting.
This logic I'm crediting to the Lord, because I don't know if it's true.
Great. You know what? That in itself makes everything he's done make sense.
Yeah.
Because I was like, why is he doing that? Why did he put the cup? Why did he lie? Why did he do all that stuff like that? Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. That's crazy. Mind blown. Oh, that's crazy. That makes so much sense. Yeah, and so they search the sacks of the brothers and they find the cup in Benjamin's sack. Then all of the brothers were like really upset about it, and so they go back to Joseph's house.
Let me just say, and then verse 16 of chapter 44. Then Judah said, what shall we say to my Lord? What shall we speak? Or how shall we clear ourselves? God has found out the iniquity of your servants. Here we are, my Lord's slaves, but we and he also with whom the cup was found. But he, being Joseph, said, far be it from me that I should do so. The man in whose hand the cup was found, he shall be my slave. And as for you, go in peace to your father. You know? So Joseph was like, I'm giving you the opportunity to just leave scot-free without having any of that. Because if you guys do that, then I know you haven't changed. And I know that nothing, you know? But verse 18.
Sorry, that was a cat. Stitch, please don't.
Verse 18, then Judah came near to him and said, O my Lord, please let your servant speak a word in my Lord's hearing, and do not let your anger burn against your servant, for you are even like Pharaoh. My Lord asked his servant, saying, have you a father or a brother? And we said to my Lord, we have a father, an old man, and a child of his old age who is young. His brother is dead, and he alone is left of his mother's children, and his father loves him. So basically, this whole part is Judah trying to, you know, it even says it here, like in the, what do you call it, the subtitle, the text of the chapter, where it says Judah intercedes for Benjamin. So basically Judah is trying to tell Joseph, explain the whole situation. Yeah. Listen, we have already lost a brother, my father's son, whom he loved dearly. This is the only child he has of that marriage. Yeah. Please don't do that. Please, I will stay here. Yep. Please don't do this. And what I think is so interesting is the fact of, like, Judah comes from the lineage, or Judah's lineage leads to Jesus Christ. Sure does. And Jesus Christ right now is interceding for us, is pleading our case. And so almost like we see like just a glimpse into what it looks like when it's like, I understand that some wrong has been done, but please
let me go in their stead. Let me suffer in their stead.
It's too good.
Oh, it's too good. Oh, that's the perfect parallel. Literally, it's like, I know they did wrong. Yeah. But let me bear the brunt. You're on a roll today. To God be the glory.
We thank God.
I was also going to say that, as we said before, Judah was the one that was like, why should Joseph be here? Let's sell him. So I think the turnaround, the growth of not just Joseph, but all of the brothers, that when they would all do that Judah, the one who was the person to let his brother be sold, is now the one that's interceding, saying, no, I'll be the slave. No, I'll take the brunt. Let him go free.
And I also think something that's interesting is that all the brothers were of one accord.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and they were all of one accord to do good. It says in the Bible that when people, paraphrasing, when people are united, there's nothing they can't do. And I think that's why it's important that when you are uniting, or when there is unity, it's unity for good as opposed to bad. Because the unity that they had before was, Joseph is a problem, he needs to be eliminated.
Needs to go.
You know? And even when they were like, okay, we won't kill him, it was still, but we'll sell him. We'll get rid of the problem that is Joseph. But here it's like, the unity seems to be, but let's save our brother now. Our brother is now the one who is in trouble. Let's save him. So I think there's value in unity. Makes sense.
You've on it. Yeah. And so after Judah's plea, Joseph could not restrain himself. We're now in chapter 45. Verse 1, then Joseph could not restrain himself before all those who stood before him, and he cried out, make everyone go out from me. So no one stood with him while Joseph made himself known to his brothers, and he wept aloud, and the Egyptians and the house of Pharaoh heard it. Then Joseph said to his brothers, I am Joseph, does my father still live? But his brothers could not answer him, for they were dismayed in his presence. And Joseph said to his brothers, please come near to me. So they came near. Then he said, I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Egypt. But now do not therefore be grieved or angry with yourselves, because you sold me here. For God sent me before you to preserve life. For these 2 years, the famine has been in the land, and there are still 5 years in which there will be neither. But yeah, he's giving them the whole rundown. So basically, Joseph is confirming it that God was the one that allowed all of these things to happen, even though like he used their bitterness and their anger and all their stuff like that. That God was the one that allowed Joseph to go forth.
I think the ending of the story, because if you keep going, you know, you end up seeing them bow to him.
Yeah,
and it was
a fulfillment of the dream.
Yeah, and even when they first got to Egypt, they also bowed to him as well. So it was almost like fulfillment, like a complete circle of the dream that he had as well.
And I think the thing is, like, once again, we talked about Joseph's arc and how he's so much more mature now. Like, even like his brothers bowing to him wasn't like, oh yeah, look at me, I'm him, I am. He was now a better person. So he wasn't the type of person that's like, oh yeah, y'all bowing to me, you'll be fine. Oh yeah, y'all bowing to me. Oh yeah, all this stuff like that. Like, no, he was humble.
Yeah.
Well, he was humble-ish. As he now is the governor of Egypt. So there's like this cute little reunion. Joseph's all crying over Benjamin. He's, oh, Benjamin. And then Pharaoh hears it, and he was like, I think this is another thing, that this is just goes to show that God really was orchestrating all of this. Because when Pharaoh heard what had happened, that his brothers had come, he was like, oh, this is great. Give them some land. Let's give them stuff. Let's give them property. And it was also like bring their brother, bring their family.
The land and stuff.
Like, that's not normal. Yeah, that's like not a normal response. Like, even if Joseph had done all of this, like, Pharaoh's still Pharaoh. Like, he didn't really need Joseph. You know, he could have taken the plan and gone with it. Like, he didn't need Joseph. But the fact he was like, I value you, and thus I will value your family. Let them come here and let them reside and have peace and abundance. That's crazy. So this was your favorite Bible story. Why?
You know, I'm not gonna lie to you. I completely forgot that this was my favorite Bible story.
It's a Bible story that you chose to do.
I did choose this. Is it my favorite? I don't know, to be honest. I don't know if I have like a favorite, but I do think that this is one of the stories that I can definitely relate to. And I also think it's a story just of the testament of who God is and how he can see that there is a need somewhere and can start preparing someone to meet that need, you know? Yeah. And so I really appreciated the story, especially because it gives a reason to the suffering. It gives a reason to, so
it wasn't in vain.
Exactly. As well as just, I think I also like the family coming back together as well. So yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for being on my podcast. Thank you for, it's probably isn't as loud. Thanks for sharing your favorite Bible story. I think, once again, this is a good one. Yeah. It's one of, like, the classics where it's like, yeah. But, like, nah, there's a lot. Digging into the family dynamics, digging into, characters that needs to be pruned, that needs to grow and mature in order to hold what God has. What it looks like when you're in those waiting seasons, what it looks like to know that God is with you even when that may not be obvious to the rest of the world, what it looks like when you're doing everything right and bad things are still happening. And then what does your character become when you do receive the promise? Right. Are you somebody that will be like Joseph, even though he was doing a lot, but will you be someone like Joseph that will still welcome those who did him wrong? Or would you rebuff them, or like how do you handle success? And I'm not saying that you need to welcome people who did you wrong back into your life. Like, pray on that. There may be some boundaries that you have to have set, right, that you need to uphold in this season, but there's something to be said about the character that you have when you receive the promises of God.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's it. That's the story of Joseph from Genesis 37 to Genesis 50, although we stopped at Genesis 46. It was a good one.
Yeah, it was. And I think if you guys want to, because, this is available on Spotify, and some of you might have come from different places. If you just want to somehow comment on Instagram and tell her to use the mic I got her, that'd be great.
Long story short, she got me a mic for Christmas, and I was just too lazy to set it up right now, and she's not happy about it. And she's not, because the look she said was like, sure, I'm not. Oh, well, she'll be okay, though.
Okay.
Anyway, yes, well, stay tuned to the next episode. I'm trying to be more consistent, so hopefully the next episode should come out in 2 weeks. We'll see, though. Yes, feel free to follow us on social media. Make sure to follow and leave a comment on the podcast. And, yeah, we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.